to hit the go live button.
Ah.
I'm not smart enough to have hit the go live button over in YouTube. This should start playing, and then we'll get noise. I can't mute it until it starts either.
This is
Oh, I
when.
have statistics, so this must be starting to work.
Is anybody watching other than Yulia?
It says 0, so
Oh,
even I'm not watching yet. Oh, good, it's muted.
there's us.
So that's what it looks like for the public over there.
Okay, in the live stream.
Mm-hmm. It bums me out. Riverside does not let you configure where any of this goes.
That's interesting. You'd
Isn't
think
it?
they'd give you some control over.
Yeah. Oh god, now we're popping up in there.
Do we have? Oh, hey, there's me.
That's you. Yeah, I figured I'd just play a video of some sort over there while we're jibber jabbering.
Gotcha.
Oh, and I can have it loop. There we go.
Intro.
So now we don't have to worry about that.
Gotcha. We
That's going to distract me, though, isn't it?
like Joshua, like Bardwell's broken motor and propeller thing.
We could capture moments as they happen. Stream markers. I've never heard it tell me that before.
Look at that, real steady.
What a good job you're doing here. I was not smart enough to print our notes here, Tubby.
Oh, you usually print them? I've just got them.
Oh, that's what I did. But then I kept, doing this
Yeah.
on the creativity podcast. So Jeremy said you're just supposed to print them. I said, well, that seems
Well,
that doesn't
wouldn't
seem
that
like
be
the
like-
kind of thing I do.
wouldn't you be doing?
Yeah, well, you can pick the paper up. You can move it. I didn't print the. I was going to show you how I do it.
Yeah, I see Jeremy wave papers around.
All the time. He's good at it. Oh, you printed a manual. Well, that's
No.
pretty good.
I'm pantomime. I am not mocking anybody. Do we have something? With
I don't
my
know if we
face
should
on
be
it?
waiting for people to show up or anything, but I'm not too worried about that. So, Tubby, the first thing we've got here is 3D printing. Is what
We do.
I'm going to scooch this window over here so I can see all these titles.
See me doing my poker face? I'm looking right at the camera, but I'm scrolling up and down in the document. Can you
Oh,
tell?
that's smart. No, I can't because there's very cool reflections on your glasses.
Yeah.
So I can't tell what you're.
And once I go like this, you know what I can't do anymore, right?
You can't see anything.
I can't read. I see 3D printing and then blurry. And it's black blurry and blue blurry.
What order do you think we should hit this part in? Should I put this into the? Here, everybody can see our note.
Yeah.
Why not?
Which topic do we want to talk about first, or which order of the subheadings?
I would do the headings in order because that's the way they've been in my brain
Yeah,
all
that makes
week
sense.
since we started writing. But I didn't think about the order of any of these numbers here.
I think we should just go in the order that they're in there.
All right.
Because that'll be.
And I'm realizing I got to pull that document back out of that window so I can look at it while we're. I'll keep popping that in and out. Is that okay?
That works for me. I won't. I won't make fun of you for that. I'm way less nervous for this than when I talked to the tail scale guys.
How did that go? Did you have fun?
It was fun. It was interesting. I am.
Oh, this isn't. This is a CNC thing. Is the cutter holder thing?
Yeah.
We put that in the wrong heading.
Well, did we change the
know.
name of the? Did we change the name? It's like 3D printing.
It's like 3D printing.
It's the inverse of 3D printing, and you can.
It's fine. So we've got the cutter tray. We've got the orbit. We could probably talk about you and your shenanigans. I don't. Do you have pictures of any of that? Can I, I didn't get any of your time lapses.
I tweeted.
I'm gonna find one. I thought I was prepared, YouTube.
You're
but
prepared.
I'm close. It's not far off.
Do we have any viewers
Do you do
yet?
time lapse one word or two?
Probably yes is the answer to that question. I'm the guy that tweeted that today was going to be April 19th. So
April 8th, there's a Bender printing from a 3/4 view. I'll bring that into our...
April 8th is probably pretty...
That's him.
Yep. That's a good one.
Jeez, and then they get old. Time lapse will try 2.
Well, I've been doing this for months. I mean,
Well, I know, no, but it's a face hugger.
Oh,
There's
okay.
Time lapse of a face
Jeez.
hugger. Okay, here we go. This will do. This is a picture of what you have up. 7 minutes, Judy, and we haven't talked about anything yet.
We've talked about a lot of stuff.
Oh,
but
there's bacon in here? That's pretty good.
Yeah, bacon.
All right, so I'll be able to click on your...
Why is there bacon? Oh, I
and
can't.
there's Bender heads involved in this all. I've got the cable holder up here. Did you see this guy?
I did. I've seen him before.
Don't look at him. It's supposed to be a surprise.
Yeah, but you made me look at him before.
The open SCAD, the monorail. The monorail's fascinating. I don't know what you do with it. And we could skip my. We've got a lot here, I think. If you think we need another 2 minutes, we can.
You can talk about that for 2 minutes.
We could talk about that for 2 minutes. Oh, hi, Lieutenant Data. Hi, 3D Weeby, and hello, Yulia. How are you guys doing?
We have a crowd.
We do. We have a big crowd.
Awesome.
I have to
guys.
size this window so I can still see everything. There we go. And it's not that I'm running out of monitors, Brian. There's cameras and mics in the way.
Yeah,
There's
a camera right here. I can't see a third of my monitor because of my camera, man. I guess I could go like this. But that doesn't present well. I'm Ron.
Oh, and Alex is here too. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hey,
doing?
Alex.
All right, I think we've got enough numbers here. Bullet points. What do you think, Tubby?
I think we have a lot of bullet points.
Good. Did you find this CNC thing, or did I?
I think you probably found the CNC thing in your wanting to put together your carry-around tray.
Oh,
tray?
a carry-around
Kit?
tray.
What?
Kit. Sure. Yeah, I don't know
the right
what
word
that's
for
called.
that?
Well, we haven't done it yet, so he didn't need a name yet.
Yeah. Well, can you make it before it has a name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or the other way around. You can name it before you make it. Sometimes names are easy. I'm gonna tuck around. I know what I'm doing wrong. I'm turning I have an extra screen here looking at me.
Did you see what I just did? I tried to look behind the camera to see what you were doing. You're like,
Did you see
I'm gonna do something. I'm like, ooh, I want to see. We're idiots.
Doesn't that look great, Alex? It's I mean, you know what it is. It's a tool. It's a end mill holder. I didn't even look at how he did it. Oh, there's not a lot of information. But there's an SVG. That's all you need. Man, and the guy doesn't even have a name. Yeah, I want to be able to tell him. Look at what Bill did.
Bill.
It's not even Bill. It's Does he have an about?
I can't see that.
Anything?
esheep.ch.
I'm going to say this is Raphael. I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I don't want to get it wrong.
You're assuming you got his first name right.
Lieutenant Data says you are not an idiot, and neither am I, Brian. Can you believe
that? That is that's probably the nicest thing someone's told me all week.
So let's go with, we've got this. I don't even know how we'll introduce this Let me take a swig. Are you ready for me to ask you questions about the things that are in this window here?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. You could ask me questions too, but
I
if I introduce us and start talking about this, and you say, yeah, I'll hand it.
blink twice if you need. Blink twice slowly
I'm
if
going
you
to
need
say,
assistance.
Alex, that it's metric because it says 8 millimeter, 6 millimeter, 5 millimeter, 3 millimeter deeper. There's all kinds of millimeters in here. But they're all loose. They're not. It's not like these are tight slots.
Press fit. Yeah.
Brian, this episode of the Butter What podcast. I don't know if it's a podcast. This episode of the Butter What podcast is filmed before a live YouTube studio audience. Did you know that?
Socially distanced.
I'm
Audience.
Pat, and this is my co-host Brian, and he's very socially distant. You could tell because I have a green background, and Brian has a regular
Super Troopers.
Super Troopers background. But for some reason, Brian put this this nifty, simple tool tray for your CNC router bits. One of us found a couple of weeks ago. Could be a while ago. This is from February, so who knows when we actually found it. I don't know if it fits under 3D printing, Tubby, but we're leaving it here. Is that okay?
Well, I think so. I mean, it's CNC, and like we like to joke, it's the inverse of 3D printing. So it's on the other side of the coin.
It's true. It's true. And this is interesting to me because I put end mills for my CNC back in the little containers. I wish I had one here in the little, like those two little plastic containers at the bottom of that tray. And, throw them in a drawer, and then I'm just, looking for them. And this is way better. And it's an easy enough project. This would be an easy thing to design a parametric one of these.
Yeah, I like it. What's the right way to say it? My wife Yulia, who's watching, will admit and gleefully laugh at me when I admit that I'm a little bit OCD about things in drawers and wanting them to be nice and neat and laid out where they're easy to find. That'd be awesome to have something parametric like that you could organize any kind of drawer for, not just necessarily CNC mills.
This is true. It doesn't say how thick this is. Does it? There's a 9 millimeter wide deep part. Yeah, it doesn't say how thick it is. It doesn't matter. It's an SVG file that he gives you for this if you want to cut this exact thing yourself, and the depth is up to you and your CAM software. So that's fine.
But you'd probably just start over from scratch and design something yourself in OpenSCAD, right?
I probably would because I want to fit my tools in there. I have a ton of. He's got half 1/8 inch and half 1/4 inch. Look, I don't know if that's actually what they are. They might be in metric, like Alex here said, but I use mostly 1/8 inch cutters, so I'd have way more slots for 1/8 inch cutters than 1/4 inch. The 1/4 inch are the big ones.
Gotcha.
If you didn't know that.
A quarter's bigger than an eighth?
Yes, unless it's a hamburger. A 1/3 pound hamburger is smaller than a 1/4 pound, is what I heard. I don't know how true that is. And the next thing on our list is this, found this over at Hackaday. It's a 3D printed camera arm that orbits your 3D print during a time lapse. And I don't remember if I found this before you started your journey on going crazy with your time lapses, Brian, or after. Oh, geez, there's music. It didn't mute.
Oops.
I just wanted to skip in here to see what the time lapse looks like. It's a little herky-jerky. It's not smooth, but that's a solvable problem.
Yeah. Well, I think it's neat. I like the motion.
Yeah, it's so much more interesting when a camera's moving around.
Well,
not like this one that's filming me here.
Yeah. You could.
Oh, and the finished product might not be that. That's pretty smooth.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it did a couple different animations. Animation, is that the right word for that?
Animate motions, and it looked like it reversed the orbit after the print was done. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It goes around once
Well,
during the print, and then there's a
it heads back, like
it heads
the
back, yeah, to see the finished product for
like
multiplying
the
it.
highlights after a Mario Kart race.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. But I did you start using your DSLR for your time lapses because of that,
No, it
or
wasn't. It wasn't because of that.
did I find this because you were so into your time lapses?
Maybe a little bit of both. You know, the time lapses is all your fault, anyways. Pat's been Pat bought a new camera that he's using right now. He's talking to it, and
I am.
I've been jealous of it for a while, and I was about to buy one, but our friend Alex decided to buy one and had an older generation of a similar camera that I bought from him. So I had this extra camera, and I've been doing time lapse photography of almost all of my 3D prints using a decent webcam, but you know the all of the really nice looking 3D printed time lapses are shot with DSLR cameras. So when I
Or
had
mirror. It doesn't have to be a
yeah,
DSLR. Just a real camera.
a nice camera,
A real
not necessarily
photography camera.
a real photography camera. Um, and I had purchased that extra Sony camera to replace the top down camera that I was using. I'm gonna call it in my recording studio, but it's really a spare bedroom right over there. And so I had this perfectly nice camera that was a huge upgrade over the webcam that I was using, and I decided to go, I don't want to say a little overboard, but I think a little overboard trying to print both to print both nice objects and then also at the same time record a time lapse of it. And I've had a lot of fun printing lots of these little bender heads. I've got a whole you can see
How many do you think you have?
I think I counted them the other day. There's like 9 of them that I've kept, that I've retained. There are others that have been thrown away, but there's like 9 just over my shoulder here.
Yeah, 3D Weeby says they're over there. I can't. Oh, you guys have a better view of this.
Yeah, is it wider for everybody
It's wider.
else?
It's wider for everyone else. Yeah.
I worked really hard to frame and make sure that they were in the background there as an Easter egg for our viewers.
That's fantastic. And I like this. I know he has a bunch of these little snippets of time lapses. This is with Octolapse in Octoprint.
Yes.
And what Octolapse lets you do is it takes a picture, either with your webcam or whatever camera you have hooked up, at the end of every layer, correct?
Yeah, at the end of every
Usually.
layer, usually it's got some smarts about it, the way that it does it. But yeah, it picks, and in the one that we're watching here, it picks, you kind of give it some geometry. So I can't remember what I said. The back right. So it's picking the point on every layer that's the furthest, that's closest to the far right corner.
Yeah, the farthest away from the camera in this angle.
Yeah, the farthest away from the camera in this angle, but it's not going all the way to that corner. It's staying on
Within
the
the
actual
bounds.
yeah, within the bounds of the printed object.
Yeah. I know you had some trouble with stringing on this one.
Yeah,
When it was because usually Octolapse's default is to walk the print head away from the object, right?
yeah,
That's
to
not
like
the way?
to the well, same concept. You pick the position, but then it goes all the way to that point. So if I had said, you know, the rear right or the rear left, it would go to the far corner of the print bed. And every
It
time it
drags a
did
little
that,
string of filament.
it oozed a
every
little
time.
bit. Yeah, Bender would have this mohawk of neck and head hair. I don't know what to call it, but he'd have this furry line. And at one point, I just decided I would do that and then just shoot from the other angle so that nobody ever saw it. But all the prints were pretty ugly. I mean, they took a lot of work to clean up the stringiness, and it never looked really good.
Yeah, and that was a bummer because this is Joseph Prusa's Prusament, and their settings for it too, and it still was stringy. Everybody says really nice things about Prusament, and I think it's just fine, but I'm impressed with this spool.
Yeah, I've done time lapses like that before and not had nearly as much stringing. I mean, like a little bit, but not to the extent that I got on the Prusament filling with the Prusa slicer using their filament profile.
Do you know I've printed 2 of these bender heads? Well, I printed one and failed another. I printed one out of wood PLA.
Oh, I remember this one. Yeah.
And I tried so hard. We had a little spool of iron PLA. It was magnetic. It had actual iron filings in it.
Oh,
but
fun.
It just did not want to stay extruding. It would stop at about 4 or 5 millimeters every single time. I tried turning the heat up, turning the heat down. I tried all kinds of things. It just
that's a bummer.
And I gave up. Yeah, that would have been cool to have a metal bender head. But like the real one, I guess the real one's supposed to be metal.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon though, so it's ink, but
paper.
Do they do it on paper now?
I can't imagine that they do.
That's pretty fancy. Oh, but here's Brian's. I don't know if this is your current setup, Tubby, but he's got this webcam on the arm here is what he used to use.
Yep.
Or I imagine what you use when you don't set up all this extra.
Yeah. Or in what I use to monitor a print, remotely from across the house or.
And it looks like you've got a little USB connector going to the old Canon DSLR. And
yep.
My understanding is Octoprint uses G-Photo to snap the picture and then copy the JPEG.
Yep. Yeah.
Off of the
camera. It uses G-Photo to snap the picture and pulls off the JPEG, and at the end of it, it renders it.
You didn't tell everyone that this ends up with you get a video file that's like 5,700 by 3,500 pixels.
Yeah, it's
like
huge.
It's like a 20 megapixel video.
Yeah, it's
kind of ridiculous.
Ultra high definition. What is that?
A lot. It's way more than 4K.
It's more than 4K.
6K, I guess.
Yeah.
Give or take. It's a lot.
And that's one of the things that I liked about it. I mean, what I wound up doing in post on that, I got to scale it up and crop down to just a 1080 frame, and you had Bender and all his teeth and eyeballs in most of the.
I've seen people take those big videos like yours, and when they crop them down to 1080, they pan with keyframes so you can scooch around the video and not lose any quality.
I tinkered around with that a little bit. I tried to do just an up and down pan.
You'd have to be printing something really cool for it to be worth the effort.
Yeah,
to do that though.
It looked a little strange, and that's probably one of those things that takes more creativity to do
maybe
it right.
For 3D printing a server chassis.
Yeah, maybe another MK735. That's over my shoulder too.
Yeah, it is. I can't even see. I'm gonna check the. Oh, it's too small. I see it there, but it's too small for me to understand. See, now you're going to know that we've been planning on doing this live stream for quite a while because I found this, it says 2 months ago here on Reddit, this little clip that I wanted to talk about, this cable clip that I was excited about. It's 2 pieces that snap together. You screw the one piece, he's going to do it here. You screw the one piece to your desk, the back of your desk or something. Look at this, put a cable through. And when you pull on it like that, it grabs harder. When the cable tries to pull it out, but when you try to, when you slide it off by the end, it comes right off. I think this is ingenious.
I really like this, and you showed me this when I was working on my PyKVM blogs, and I was
Is that why I saw this and was interested in it?
I don't know if it was, but it made me so mad. I mean, we'll have to link to the PyKVM blog in the video description when we post it, but I worked so hard to cable manage everything back there, and something like this would have been so much better than what I wound up doing.
You're gonna have to print 100 of these,
and I had to take it. And I thought I had a hardware failure at one point, so I had to take everything completely apart and start all over from scratch. It was really frustrating. It would have been nice to have something like this.
So you can sneak cables in and out.
Yep.
But this is my favorite thing about 3D printing is there's all these little things. Like I would never think to order something like this from Amazon. And when I need one, it's going to be at least 2 days away. And I could go to a store and try to find these. I'm never going to find these, but I have this saved in Thingiverse. If I know I'm going to be doing cables, I can print a couple of dozen of these and get to work.
Yeah, you could run some new Cat 5 to your network cupboard.
This next one is the most interesting thing. I don't really understand why I would want to do this, but I still think it's really neat. This is the Monorail 3D printer. I guess this guy's not the first guy to do this. He's implementing someone else's idea and trying to do a better job. But this is three points of motion on a single linear rail to get your X, Y, and Z motion out of the print head. I have the audio on because it's, it sounds like it's doing its dance. He's got trouble with wobble. I think that's a normal problem to have. It's difficult to solve. I get every one of these joints has a little bit of, but you can see that bobbling up and down.
Yep. I remember watching how high can it go? How high?
This is a good question. I'm not sure.
It seemed like
the first thing I thought of when I saw this, our friend Alex, who's in the chat here, he let me borrow a little laser cutter. That if I was smart, I would have a link to it. I'd have it open in a tab here. But it's just on 2 rails, and it's kind of like this. It's just out in the open air, so you can just put it down on something, and you can put it. We accidentally lasered his table the day that he got it. But a printer like this, you could clamp this to a desk or something. You could clamp it to something that you wanted to print on. And you would only have to attach one axis and get one axis, lined up. I don't know if that'd be practical for anything, though.
You could decorate a cake.
You could decorate a cake.
I like that idea.
But it's so wobbly. This would not print as it stands right there. I don't know. I assume every one of these bearings just has a little bit of a fraction of a millimeter. If it's a fraction of a degree over that long arm, translates to a lot of whatever this floppiness is. But I could watch this all day. It's fascinating.
It's really neat. I wonder what sort of practical applications will come out of it.
It'd be cool if something's practical, wouldn't it?
Yep.
And Brian, you told us, and I'll have a link to this in the description, you told us that I would probably make my own parametric OpenSCAD CNC part holder. Somebody just posted this fantastic book. It's a book on how to learn how to use OpenSCAD. You could buy the paperback. I think it was $25 for the paperback. There was no ebook on Amazon. I was hoping to buy the ebook. I'd like to send him a few dollars. But they have the whole book in HTML on his website.
For free.
For free. And I swore there was a table of contents, but I don't see the table of contents. Which makes this kind of hard for me to zip through. He's way more advanced than I am with math, because you see this latch thing that he's making? With this curve in it? He's got he's doing something with the math with the golden ratio here to extract out this shape. And I don't have enough math to do that. I don't know about you, but I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going to read through this. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot.
I was disappointed. Well, disappointed's the wrong word. I had to use trigonometry The only time I've ever used trigonometry outside of high school was in OpenSCAD,
Me
trying to
too.
trying to figure out an angle the opposite for something that I was designing. I was like, oh my goodness, I get to finally use trigonometry.
Yeah, but you know what the worst part about that was? I had to look it up.
Yeah, well,
I had to go look it up, and I forgot. Yeah,
I I knew that it was trigonometry when I looked at it, and I was impressed with that. But yes, I had to do exactly the same thing. I had to go relearn how I was like, I know that this, I
it
know
has
what
been.
this is. It's got to be sine over cosine or something along those lines.
Yeah,
I was,
which one is it?
but
Which one? I had to. It's been 25 years almost since Mrs. Coleman taught us trigonometry in high school, and yeah, I definitely had to look it up.
yeah, me too. But I got it right on the first try. The This is not my experience with designing 3D objects. It usually takes me a few iterations to get it right. And I can't even remember what I was designing and printing. The print actually didn't work, but the thing that I was trying to calculate for, when the object didn't work, I was like, I bet you I messed up that trigonometry and I didn't even get the right number. And I measured it out. I was like, oh my God, I did it. I did it right. I did trigonometry right.
You did a fantastic job, Tubby.
Maybe.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to bring our document back into the window here so the live stream can see our very basic outline here. Yeah, I didn't explain to everybody who showed up here watching. Some little 5 to 10 minute episodes for YouTube out of this. So our plan is to talk to you guys as much as we can before we start one of these segments here, and then we'll take a break. We'll check with you guys in the chat to answer questions or get ideas from you, and then maybe add another minute or two to that segment, and then move on to the next. We don't know what we're doing though. This is so now I'm going to lean way over here so I can read the chat over here.
Yeah, I guess I should pull up the chat too.
Oh, Tubby, you're doing a bad job.
I
Lieutenant Date is correct. Putting a piece of plexiglass over the top of those parts organizers so you can stack them would be quite neat.
That's a very good idea.
You could probably even have some nubbins. I should put my glasses back on to. I'm going to bring that back up so we can talk about it.
God, look at all these notifications I have.
Yeah, our friend Lieutenant Data in the chat said we should put a piece of plexiglass over top of this so you can stack them. And that's pretty cool. You could probably even put some little protuberances in the corners to poke up through the plexiglass, and maybe even a little higher than the plexiglass, and maybe put some indents on the bottom so they stay stacked. Now I'm in trouble, Lieutenant Data, because I might want to do some of this.
Oh God, now I'm on my screen like 3 different times. It's a little disturbing.
I'm excited that Lieutenant Data knew about my third pound versus quarter pound hamburgers.
I knew what you were talking about. Burger King came out with the third pound, whatever.
But it wasn't just you or me that knew it. That's even better.
That is exciting. Look, should I tell?
I've heard that story might be apocryphal. That might have been invented slightly after the fact to explain why A&W's burgers weren't. It was their excuse after it didn't work.
Interesting.
But I don't know. It's a better story if it's true. So I'm going to say it's true.
I'm going to say it's true also. I don't even remember it. This was the 80s, right?
It must have been. 80s, maybe early 90s. I know the Polar Printer 3D Weebee. That's a nifty too. Do you know the Polar Printers, Brian?
I don't. Or
the bed rotates. So I see that face you're making. So one of the, like to print a straight the bed and move the print head somehow, and that would make a straight line. And sometimes I've seen these Polar printers with arms kind of like this on the two-hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm unprepared for this 3D Weeby. I'm doing a bad job. I don't have any of the vocabulary in my brain for this. Well, look, little Jen's here too. Little Jen, numbers are dumb only when they make me put a number at the end of my username. Especially when it's a username that no one else would have taken. I get so mad.
Patshead.com.
I have props for the next. Is that for the next part?
Like propellers?
Is this in the next part? Is the butt sensor in the next part?
I hope so.
Or is that in? I made a home automation part.
The Pi Arduino stuff is the next subheading on our document. It's number one. I'm
gonna take Home Assistant out of there because I think I have a. We have a home automation.
I think we have a home automation.
So maybe the butt sensor should go down there.
I think it should be up in the Pi Arduino stuff.
Do you think so? But it's for this chair over here, so the light doesn't turn off when I'm sitting in it. So what have we got? We've got the Pi KVM. I've got your... I think this is your Pi KVM video.
Yep. God, I look so... I look pretty stoned right there. Happy 420, everybody.
There we go. Yeah, that's definitely... Well, it says so in the title.
Yeah.
That's what I should be paying attention to.
Yeah.
More Pi KVM?
Yeah, and we should add the FPV lap timer thing.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about...
Let's put that... Maybe here?
All the parts are getting shipped to your house.
What's it called? The
Delta 5
5
race timer? Delta 5 race lap race timer. I'm making fun of your typing.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, let me see if I have a Delta 5 race timer. We'll get a video or something.
There's a few good assembly videos, but I'm a little... What's the right word? I'm a little worried there's no recent content about it out there from anybody.
Yeah, but at least there's not much to do to it, right? It's
yeah.
As long as it works, it's going to work well.
Yep.
I'm just going to find a spot in the video where we can see some of it here. And what does that come after? So we've got... Boy, I didn't do a tab for my... Brian, I'm doing a bad job. I didn't do a tab for...
Your tail scale? This thing?
My tail scale.
It's right over there. You can't... nobody gets to see it.
This is where I'm boring for you guys because I have to look up the things that I was supposed to do for homework earlier today.
We're very well prepared.
Tail scale Pi. Here it comes. After the Delta? Is it after or before the Delta?
Before. It's number 3.
Yeah, because if I do these in order, I can click the tabs.
Yeah.
And not refer to the documentation here.
Did you write a blog about the butt sensors yet?
No, I haven't quite gotten it to work yet.
I'm giving
the
you
butt sensor works, but it doesn't talk to Home Assistant yet because I don't understand how to configure Tasmota correctly. And I forgot about it. I thought I'd have it done by today, but I started adding all kinds of other home things, and that scratched my home automation itch.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and that's why we added the home automation subheading, right?
It is. It's my fault.
Yep. You did a good job.
We missed anything? We haven't missed anything new.
I don't think we have.
All right, so should I introduce this again a little bit like we did? Are we ready?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll do that little introduction again.
All right.
But,
You did a good job.
welcome to the Butterwood podcast thing. I don't know if this is a podcast, though, Tubby, but we're going to say it is anyway. And this podcast is being filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. That's kind of cool.
It's
It's like
very
Cheers.
cool.
Do you remember Cheers?
I remember Cheers.
And in this part, we're going to talk about, our heading says it's going to be, I already forgot, pies and Arduinos and things.
Pies and Arduinos.
And the first thing on the list is your project, Brian. You bought me a whole set of these things around Christmas time, and I was excited.
I did. Yeah,
This is the Pi KVM, right?
This is the Pi KVM. This is really all your fault because you had sent it before. I mean, like, I don't want to say months ago, but I can't remember. I was griping one day about one of my IPMI interfaces on my NAS or my home lab being. I don't want
What's
to
an
say.
IPMI interface, Brian?
I don't know what it stands for.
Well, it doesn't matter what it stands for. What does it do?
You can use it to remotely access the hardware in computer. It's mostly enterprise grade hardware, kind of a lot like.
But why would I want to do that?
Because
it's do for me.
Because your cubicle's like half a mile away and it's in the data center and you don't want to walk half a mile. And usually it's over there.
So
or maybe
it's at 2 a.m. and I need to change a BIOS setting.
Yeah.
And I could do that with IPMI.
With IPMI.
I can remote in and hit Control Alt Delete.
Yeah.
I can hit the reset button.
It's like you're
Bang on the
physically
delete
there.
key.
Hit a
Can you hear
button.
that?
Hit the numlock key and see if the light turns on or off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Pi KVM is a lot. The IPMI interface that I was having difficulty with, it was just difficult to use. I mean, it's I don't know, probably kind of a first world problem complaint. You know, like my air conditioning's working, but it's 1 degree too cold. Woe is me, kind of thing. But it wasn't
But these
working.
IPMI interfaces are usually only available on premium priced motherboards.
Yeah.
Or rack mount servers and stuff.
So-
It's not something.
So hardware that you would expect to be in a data center somewhere, not necessarily, in a tucked behind a desk.
Like that one
Just a few
behind
feet.
you.
Yeah. Like that. Yeah. That one has an IPMI interface. Maybe this one right here. So yeah, the Pi KVM, you use a Raspberry Pi and we use just a USB capture card. It captures an HDMI interface, and it's got a cool little web interface that you pull up in a browser, and it's like you're allowed to remotely access a computer
Through the browser.
through your browser.
I'm going to hit play in the window here.
Okay.
But you keep talking.
Hitting that.
That's pretty much
that
what
device.
Brian's doing in this video from YouTube here.
And one of the things, I mean, it's a neat little project. I mean, somebody's worked really hard on it. In the video, I can't remember which.
I'm in the
videos.
wrong video too, so that's
Well, I
a
don't.
good job. Yeah.
That's the.
Oh God, it's playing music. Okay, I fixed it.
Yeah. Well, it's. But yeah, this is me accessing the console on several different computers.
Yeah, you don't have to tell us what you're
Yeah.
doing there. Just tell. Yeah.
And it's real. I mean, it's a cool little project. It's inexpensive. I mean, I think that's really the neatest thing about this. There are KVM switches that do exactly this, and
They're horrible.
they're not fun to use, and they're really expensive.
Yeah.
When I wrote the blog, I went out to try and find something even remotely comparable, and there just wasn't. The closest thing that I
And
came
they're only
to,
VGA usually, right?
yeah, they're only VGA, or I found some weird they called it a crash cart thing. And I linked to it in the blog. I don't even know what it is, but that was more for, the crash cart thing was more for similar use case, but you actually carried it around and plugged it in to the hardware.
Well, we used to have a literal crash cart. It was a cart with a CRT and a keyboard sitting on top that you put, because you couldn't carry it around. You had to push it around.
Yeah, and that's what that was for. And that, I mean, not even really the same thing.
And the neat thing about this, like the motherboard in my little server over here is only $100, and you're probably looking at $300 or $400 for the server grade motherboards that tend to have IPMI. But if I spend $100 building a Raspberry Pi KVM out of parts, it's mine. I have it. It doesn't just work with that motherboard, right?
Yeah.
I can take it with me. I can
give it to a friend.
Give it to a friend to borrow. And our next topic will include some of this. But on my Pi KVM, and I think Brian did the same thing, I loaded Tailscale on mine, which is a VPN. It's a mesh VPN. I could set up the Pi KVM. I could go to my father's house, leave the Pi KVM on his computer, and I can remote into it from here to help him with something. Or I can mail it to him and he could plug it in and it would just work.
Yep. And you can't do any of that with the other KVM, IP over KVM devices at all, even the really expensive enterprise grade stuff.
No, but you could do a lot of this with some sort of remote desktop.
Yep.
But if the troubleshooting involves any kind of hardware, like if you've got to, configure the cylinders and sectors on a hard drive, you remember doing that? You wouldn't be able to do that with remote desktop. You would need something like a KVM.
Yeah.
And it's an IP KVM. In the old days, our KVMs were local things that you had to.
You still had to walk up to it. Yep.
Yeah. KVM stands. We didn't say this. Keyboard, video, and mouse is KVM. Yeah, and here you go. This is the video, Tubby, where you were.
Yeah, that's the stretch of the video where I demonstrated using Tailscale with it.
And with your NAS. This was a little of both.
Yeah, it was a little both. Yeah, I wind up in the video connecting to my iPhone's hotspot and then accessing both the management interface of my NAS and then the actual NAS contents over Tailscale.
Now we have we're going to do a whole episode on Tailscale. I think it's the next one.
Yeah.
So we don't want to go too deep there.
Let's.
But I've got another. Should this be a Tailscale project instead of a Pi project? Should we leave this out of this section?
This is a good question.
This is useless without Tailscale. Your Pi KVM works. I'm going to scooch this. I'm going to boot this to the next segment.
Our Venn diagrams of all the Pi stuff and Tailscale stuff overlap a lot because it's so easy to stick Tailscale on a Pi and then all of a sudden.
Now it's something else.
So yeah, let's talk about that in the next segment.
But in this segment, this is Pis and Arduinos and things of that nature, right? So, Brian, didn't you just order the parts for one of these race timers?
I did.
What kind of racing do you time with this?
I was about to say, for people who aren't familiar, Pat and I like to fly FPV quadcopters. All of mine, I see Pat looking for his. All of mine are up there.
My wire's not long enough.
But we fly quadcopters, and I don't know that either of us are racers.
Don't worry, I've got a little one here.
I don't think that any of us are racers. But the other day I came across a project called the Delta 5 Race Timer. And essentially what it is it's a lap timer for quadcopter racing. Like, we're not racers, but we like flying the quadcopters. And the way it works is, our quadcopters are broadcasting a video signal on a particular frequency.
Yep, in the 5.8 gigahertz.
And what happens is you set the race timer up near the beginning of your racetrack.
The finish line.
The finish line.
The start
Or
finish
the
line.
The start finish line. And at any time, you program it to look for the particular racers on their own channels, and then it just basically keeps count of how many seconds have elapsed since the last time that quadcopter flew past the start finish line.
And this one's kind of a do-it-yourself project.
Yeah,
You can buy one of these for quite a few $100s.
Yep, they're like
you can buy one that tracks one quad just yourself for about $120.
And as I understand it, it works okay like with a couple quadcopters. And I imagine
I was under the impression the single one only had one video receiver, so you couldn't.
The couple reviews that I watched said that there was a mode that you could use that it could monitor multiple channels or frequencies.
Okay.
But that it was, I don't want to say
nice.
Not good, less nice with the more pilots, and that that it was flaky. I mean, I guess it's just constantly pinging between the two frequencies. I don't know.
Yeah, and if it's if it's not on the right frequency at the right time, it might miss a lap or get a time
miss
wrong.
a lap or depending on the layout of your course, it might pick up the wrong thing.
I'm looking at this over in the. Let's see if this is a.
So the developer created a PCB to make it easier, but it is essentially a Raspberry Pi plus Arduino Nano.
Yep. The one you bought, it's a 4-port, 4 channels.
Yep.
So you can have 4 racers.
The PCB's four channels, and then there's like a daisy chain connection so that you could add 8 more if you or
It's
I'm
tough
sorry,
to get 8 pilots in the
Yeah,
air
I was about
time.
I
4
meant to
is
say
pretty good.
I meant to say four more. But yeah, I bought enough components to build all 8, but I'm assuming a lot of the components that I bought are coming from AliExpress and Banggood, and I'm kind of banking on one
About
or
how
two.
much have you spent, do you think, on parts?
I haven't been keeping track. I did a
Just
bad
make
job.
up a number. Give me
I
your
think-
best guess.
I bet you $150. I mean,
So not
the-
much more than a single port, and you've got
Not
enough
much more.
for 2 4-ports, and plus lots of spare parts.
plus lots of spare parts. Yep. And I think
And
it's
it looks to me you got these sockets. You put an Arduino Nano on each of these 4
Yep.
spaces, and I know up here go 4 of the same sort of receivers that go in our goggles.
Yep.
The receiver chips. And I know there's spots for voltage regulators.
There's
but this
yeah.
is really neat, Tubby.
It's a really neat, and I saw it. I like that the PCB existed. It looked like good soldering practice for those of us, me, who still I'm just not very good. Not good, maybe confident in my ability to solder things.
I have confidence that you'll do a good job putting one of these together.
I hope so. I think it'll be fun. It looks like a fun project, and I've got enough spare parts that if I let the smoke out of anything, it'll still work. And I'm excited to maybe do some tiny whoop racing at the house. Set up a course.
Tiny whoops. Let me bet you keep talking, Tubby, because I've got one.
Tiny whoops are little tiny quadcopters that are kind of safe.
Little toy size guys. They're you could get smacked in the face with this and it'd be okay. You can fly these around the house. You're not going to smash your TV, but they fly with all the same goggles and radios and stuff that we use for the bigger quads. So you can do this in the house when it's raining.
In the house when it's raining
and they're so much fun to
cold
race.
or
You
dark.
get 3 or 4 people together and you set up a goofy track going under chairs and tables and through hula hoops and things. It's a lot of fun.
We've had a lot of fun. Pat even got me a whole bunch of magnetic and suction cup gates, like actual race gates. I don't have
Really
one.
cool.
It's a lot of fun. So I'm excited to add a time element to that because before we did racing and we did a course and we just had fun. Nobody
Yeah, well, and I would kind of every now and then I'd look at the timer, the arm time in my goggles, and say, "Oh yeah, that was about 20 something." But you don't. There's no precision to it, right?
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
just me looking at it. I'm hoping. Yeah, this will be so much cooler.
And maybe there'll be enough spare parts left over that we could.
Well, you had to get 10 PCBs, right? So there's
Well, the PCBs came from a custom PCB printing shop. I could have ordered 5 for $5, but they
or
also had an
10 for
option for
$5.
10 for $5. So I was like, well, 10 is 8 more than
Well,
I need, so I'm gonna get those.
you may as well.
Yeah,
I think it was a good choice. Now I'm going to take a quick look at the chat here because it's tough to look at the chat and talk to you at the same time.
3D Weebies asking about your different coffee mug.
Oh yeah, this
You,
one. This one has coffee, and I've got these little Julies in here that I can't really touch and show you because they're icky right now. But these keep the coffee warmer longer. But I finished the coffee. This one's just water. There's no coffee in this one. But it's got a Butter What logo on it. It's very hard to aim this Butter What logo at the camera.
This is Diet Dr. Pepper. It tastes more like regular Dr. Pepper. Look at all those mugs. Is that a third mug?
It's the same mug. It's the same mug. I'm cheating, Tubby. You know that. You know that. But tonight's brew, this is I roasted the last of a bag of coffee from Yemen, and it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it.
Do you have any more of the old wooden ship beans?
I have quite a bit of the old wooden ship left. I've been adding it to other coffees. You know, like 3 or 4 grams to a double
Interesting.
shot. Mostly on the more boring beans. If I roast something, I'm just not very exciting. It adds a little bit of, I don't want to say kick, but it makes it a little more interesting.
Zesty.
Zesty.
That's spicy coffee. The old wooden ship. What is
Spicy
it?
raisins. I think it smells like raisins when it's roasted.
See, I get
I
when
don't taste raisins. I
Yeah.
smell it though.
Yeah, when I drink it, it tastes like, I don't want to say it tastes like pepper, like a mouthful of black pepper, but it's got
Yeah, but there's something spicy in there.
yeah, it's good. It's
See,
peculiar.
this is the trouble. I have all these taste buds, but I don't understand how to work them. I don't know. I don't actually know.
Well, you have to train them. I mean,
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
your taste buds need a montage of all the tasting workouts they're doing.
Even Rocky had a montage.
Even Rocky.
Even
had
Rocky. So I'm going to scooch up the document here. So the tail skill stuff is not going to have a lot of visual reference. It's just going to be me and you talking.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we've got my.
Did my audio really cut? There's a. Hopefully everything will be fine, Lieutenant Data, Mr. Data, Admiral, because the software we're using, this Riverside.fm, it records a local copy of all of our stuff. Each video feed is a separate feed. We get a WAV file for everybody, and then at the end I download them. And they're all local, full quality copies, not the streaming. Whatever streams is much lower quality than what we're going to actually get. And it's pretty cool. I'm excited about it. It's been working pretty well.
I'm excited to see it.
I'm going to be bummed out if my audio is funny, though.
We'll just lay down a Mr. Roboto in the background.
Talk very. I'll try to voice over it in post if we have to.
Jeez. maybe turn captioning on.
Oh man, I do need a time machine. I don't miss pushing a crash cart around with the big heavy monitor on top. And ours were always. It's not like we had a dedicated, a purpose built thing. There was just a monitor sitting on top of one of those terrible plastic mail cart type carts that every office used to have. That's what I remember pushing around. Man, and then LCDs came out and we could put a monitor in almost every rack. That was fun. But what do we got here, Tubby? We've got items above.
Items above. We could probably
You're right.
delete that.
You're right.
Right.
Well,
Or
don't delete it. 'Cause the Pi
Okay.
KVM back up here. Where did he? That's the monorail.
Oh, we're gonna bore our guests by talking about the same things
Same
again.
thing twice? Maybe not twice, but it's gonna be. I can at least have something.
Yeah.
And we're not when we do this into real episodes. I'm not gonna have that video playing the whole time. That's just gonna be my third video track that I can pull in when we need.
Yeah, and if you need any of the source video,
we know who has it.
I know who created that.
So the old test web server, we don't need video for that.
Pat and Brian's Octoprint. Pat's Home Assistant.
Oh, are you sharing your Octoprint with me?
No, I'm not sharing it, but
Oh, that's too bad because I'd go right to it.
I put Tailscale on. I put Tailscale on it.
I'm going to purposely go to my Octoprint machine by Tailscale IP here.
Okay. You could telnet to my Trade Wars server.
Via
Oh, I'm not
Tailscale.
sharing. Yeah, I'm not sharing it with you.
I'm having trouble logging into my Octoprint. The password is password.
Well, now you definitely need to share it with me.
Well, I'm okay with that everybody has that. Octoprint gets mad if you don't set a username. And I don't really care. Anybody who wants to print over here is welcome to come and print. But
I kind of want to start a print just randomly one day. Pat signed into Google
Octoprint
Hangouts.
is after the C file thing? Or before?
Yeah, after it, I think.
Sure. And my travel router. Oh, it's in the bag over there. I bet I've got a web page for that, though.
Yeah, and you should add Nextcloud.
You got a page for me to go to for that?
No, not yet. I wanted to. Maybe by the time we publish this Tailscale episode, I'll have that published. Mango. I always get the Chris Kattan character mixed up.
Mango and Mr. Peepers.
I always do
Mr. Peepers is way better than Mango.
Yeah, but Mango's a better name.
name.
We should just combine the two of those. When we're done with our time traveling, we need to go back and pitch that idea to the SNL writers.
All right, I'm popping my notes back out here, Tubby. We're going to get back to work.
Okay.
Instead of talking. I'm not quite ready yet. I'm just making sure these are in the right order here. That's an item above.
What I do?
Look at you.
I'm not. Look at me. Happy 420, everybody.
The travel router, and then there's the C file thing, and
Oh, look, you've got a CNC stuff. I'm ahead of us.
I do, and we could have talked about that up with the 3D printing. Maybe we'll edit that together. I don't know. Maybe we'll save that for the next episode, because that'll be in less than 4 weeks now, because we don't know what we're doing. You think I got it here? Is this good?
I think so.
Oh, I should be checking my Twitter notifications here between these. Oh, good. Nobody said anything. It's just retweets, so that's easy.
I have a lot of Twitter notifications. I don't know what I did.
All right, how did I introduce this last time?
Do it different.
This is the welcome to the Butter What podcast.
Butter
we don't know
what?
that it's a podcast, but it's a podcast. I'm Pat. This is our co-host here, BrianMcMoses.com.
Hello.
And this time we're going to talk about Tailscale. All the things on our outline here are about Tailscale, the mesh VPN.
Tailscale's fantastic.
It is fantastic. I'm going to ask you because we both already know the answer. What on earth is a mesh VPN?
I have no
Is
idea.
this like privateinternet.access.com where I go and get my own, like an anonymous IP address so that nobody knows it's me when I'm at the coffee shop?
Not really, but maybe you could, right? I mean, what's the right way to say that?
But that's not the goal.
If somebody, that's not the goal. The goal of Tailscale is to allow somebody to create a mesh network of encrypted, point-to-point encrypted tunnels.
And the idea would be every machine on your Tailscale network can connect directly to every other machine on your network.
Yeah, regardless of what
location.
Location or network that they're actually connected to.
My phone can be with me in Japan, and I could talk to my Octoprint server here at home and start a 3D print.
You could.
And my Octoprint server can write my time lapse to a NAS in Canada, and that all over Tailscale, and that would just work.
That would just work, and it's easy to set up. There's no firewall rules. There's nothing. I mean,
nothing.
One of the funny things about all of this is that, on a couple different occasions, I've tried to set up some kind of VPN at home to access stuff on my local network here remotely. And I don't know where I get bogged down. Certificates and I firewall rules. I don't want to sound dumb, but I look at it and I go, it's too much work to understand what this is. I'm just not going to do it.
Yep.
And I can't remember when it was, but you encouraged me. You said you should take a look at Tailscale. And I said to you, Pat, no, I'm too simple. I don't understand VPNs. I can't do it. And you said, no, you've got to believe me. And I was like, no, Pat, you don't understand. My tiny little lizard brain doesn't understand VPNs.
It's true.
And I can't.
No, I was very upset.
I can't remember when it actually clicked. Well, it's like, okay, fine. Pat keeps saying it, and Pat's got to be right. So I'm gonna go try it out. And like an hour later, I had my laptop, my desktop computer, my phones, my tablets, all running Tailscale and hitting things in betwixt and in between them. And it was really interesting.
Can I tell you my little story?
Please.
First, I wish I had Tailscale 10 years ago because I worked for a company that had, I was the IT department for a company that had, 20 or 25, what most companies would call sales offices, with 2 or 3 customer-facing people in each little 3-room office, and that was all they had. I bought a big stack of WRT54G routers. I loaded OpenWRT and OpenVPN on them. Did all that certificate nonsense you're talking about, and I drove these out to 20-some locations, and it was fantastic. But boy, you don't need that. None of that would have been necessary today with Tailscale. And when we moved into this house 3 years ago, I have an OpenWRT router. I put WireGuard on there, a WireGuard server, and I got it working. It was fine. I never used it. And something randomly happened, like 3 months later. My wife was bothering me because the internet wasn't working. And I don't know what kind of goofy nonsense happened by itself on the router, but all the traffic was trying to go out that WireGuard interface, the encrypted, which doesn't make any sense. So I just said, well, I want to go back to bed. I turned the WireGuard interface off. Everything just worked. And since I never needed to use it, I never turned it back on again. And then I got Tailscale, and I've never looked back.
It's perfect. I mean, it really is. I mean,
I've got like 15 or 20 devices on Tailscale. And some of the things that we've talked about in what I hope are previous episodes by this point. Like, Brian, you've got Tailscale on your Pi KVM, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Because I do too. It's the best place for it.
We both do. So we've each got the ability with Tailscale to take one of our Pi KVMs and ship it off to, I don't want to pick on my parents because they're older and maybe technically challenged, but theoretically I could ship it across the country. They could plug it in the network, plug it into their computer, and I could access that just like I could if it was right here.
You can't even tell the difference unless they're far enough away that
latency
makes it slower. But yeah, it just, and I was amazed because I built a device. I built a Raspberry Pi with a giant 14 terabyte hard drive, and I loaded C-File on it. And C-File is kind of like you host it yourself, but it works like Dropbox. It copies your files instantly from your laptop to your desktop to your phone and up to the server. So there's a copy of all my files on this Raspberry Pi. I'm going out of order, Tubby. I'm sorry about that.
You're doing fine. I like the segue.
But, and here's the little pictures of it here. It's just, I thought about 3D printing or CNCing a fancy case for this, but it seemed easier to just use the case the hard drive came in, the case the Pi came in. I Velcroed them together. I loaded Tailscale on there. I have 5 or 6 terabytes worth of data that I synced up there. And then I went over to Brian McMoses. He's that guy on the other end of the screen here. I went to his house and I left it with him. And when I left his house, by the time I got home, he'd already plugged it into his network. It was already connected. My machines were syncing before I even got home. It connected to Tailscale. Everything just worked.
It worked really well enough that I want to do the same thing. Probably not with C-File, but use a Raspberry Pi, an external hard drive, and probably some sort of ZFS file system so that I can do the exact same kind of remote backups of
the buddy system.
Yeah. What's the crowdsource? But I don't want to say buddy sourcing. That sounds weird. but yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. You're using friends and people that you trust to have an offsite but close enough entire backup of all the data that matters to you.
Yep.
Inexpensively. I mean, cheap.
And I used to host a C-File server on a co-located virtual machine in downtown Dallas here. And it was a pain because anytime there's a security update, you've got to get it on there yesterday, right? So it's a little stressful all the time. But with all this stuff hiding behind Tailscale, I mean, assuming everything's working right, only me and my machines that I own can get to that C-File server. I have it all firewalled off on the local network. Brian can't hit it without connecting to my Tailscale network somehow. And yeah, I don't have to, if it pops up on my phone and says, oh, there's a 0-day exploit for C-File or Nginx or something, I say, oh, that's good. We can get to that one of these days. And I don't have to just drop everything and go work on that. That was terrible.
Well, what else are you doing with Tailscale, Pat?
What else am I doing? I'm going to have to check the list here. I don't know why. Well, I guess I do know why. I have Tailscale on my Octoprint server. Octoprint is what you use. A lot of people use it. Most people load it on a Raspberry Pi, and you can control your 3D printer with it. You can send print jobs to it. You can... Basically, what you do is you go from your slicer. There's a button that says, do you want to send this job straight to your 3D printer? And if you have it configured and pointed to your Octoprint server, it will just, do all the work for you. You don't have to upload any G code. You don't have to hit start. It just kind of goes. And this means I can monitor my prints. I don't have a camera on here anymore, though. But I can monitor my prints from my phone anywhere without having to... I don't have to punch any holes in any firewalls. I don't have to run a VPN server on my router like I used to get in here. It just works securely and safely. This
Yeah,
is pretty
you-
boring. There's nothing going on my Octoprint server here. It's
We
just
should
sitting
have
there.
we should have thought of that. You should have had a print going for this.
Well, we would have had to
episode.
listen to it too. That would have
Yeah.
been a bummer.
Yep. Yeah, you got it working on yours, and I was like, well, I didn't really have a need to do it, but I did it. I did it anyways. I implemented Tailscale at home. You inspired me to implement Tailscale on my own Open WRT router. You wound up putting it on your little travel router.
Yep. This
Which
is
means-
pretty. I bought one of these. This was kind of an impulse buy. I had this old little travel router thing that we used to call the Wi-Fi dingus. It was just a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi router with a battery in it. And if you were somewhere in the old days that only had wired network, you could plug it in. It turns into an access port. It's just one Ethernet port on the thing. And I think it died. Do you think it died, Brian? Or I don't know what happened to it. I have it. I know where it is. But then somehow I saw somebody on Twitter pointed me at these little GL iNet devices. They're routers that ship with OpenWRT. I said, oh, that's cool. And then I noticed they had a little $20 one with just 2 Ethernet ports and 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So I just ordered one. And I didn't think about Tailscale at all at the time. But then I was putting Tailscale on everything. So I said, well, why not put it on this little router that sits in my laptop bag? And I'm a little bummed out that I chose the model that I chose, because if I spent $10 more, there would have been room for Tailscale on it. And there isn't. I have to have that little, you can see it in the picture here. There's I have a smaller one in there now, but there's a USB drive.
That is a
on there.
ginormous USB drive.
Yeah, that was the one I had with me the day I was doing this. But I ordered one of those little SanDisk ones like you use on your NAS to put on there. But while I was doing this, Tailscale released the feature update where they did the relay nodes. So the subnet on this, the 192.168, I even kept its default subnet because I'm lazy. It's 192.168.8 dot everything. If I plug this in, you can ping it from my desktop. Any device that's connected to it, you can ping them, you can get to them.
Wherever it was plugged in.
Wherever it's plugged in, anywhere that it can access the internet. And I think that's pretty cool, and it hasn't come in handy yet, but I think it will.
Eventually, someday,
Yep.
maybe.
Someday.
Yeah, you using the Tailscale relay node feature on your travel router had me do the inverse. I have an Open WRT router here for all of my network, and I used the relay node to just expose everything on Tailscale that's on my local network.
Yep. So you don't have to put Tailscale on all your devices.
All my
You just
devices.
put it on your router, and you can hit anything in your home.
Yep. As long as it's still at my home and connected to that router. That's the bummer. Like, I mean, I guess.
Now, you know what the other bummer is? The relay nodes are part of the first paid tier for Tailscale. It's not a free option anymore.
Yep, it's I'll have to look
It's
at
not
their
going to stop
pricing.
working. The Tailscale folks have pricing, but as far as I know, almost every feature is open to everyone.
Interesting.
Still, they haven't locked any features down.
Yeah. I haven't looked at the pricing, so maybe I'll walk that back a little bit. But
Yep.
so far my experience with Tailscale has me eager to be their customer.
Yep, that's the only one that worries me. Everything else that we do with Tailscale is part of the free tier. You could have up to 100 machines.
Yep.
And my favorite feature about Tailscale that I'm about to tell you about is also, I believe, part of the free tier. And that's machine sharing.
Yes.
Isn't that fantastic? You go into the Tailscale interface and you can pick one of your computers and you can say, I want to share access to this machine. And it gives you a URL. And when somebody hits that, they'll either, if they're already will just add it to their network. And if they're not a Tailscale user, it'll offer to let them sign up. And I'll tell you, Jeremy and I had, for the Creativity podcast, we had issues sharing these giant video files that we're accruing right now in the hour and 20 minutes so far that we've been
Holy
recording.
moly.
Like, our workflow was, I said, well, I'll pull down the videos from Riverside, edit them into a three-way video. And when I export that, I do that at ridiculously high bit rates so that when he edits it again, and maybe, if there were a chain of edits, we don't lose a lot. So these giant, 20, 30 gig files, neither of us had easy room at, Dropboxes and Google Drives and things to fit enough of these files. So I shared my C file server with them. And it probably took 10 minutes, an email with, and that was, I had to send him Tailscale, I had to send him the C file information, tell him where the client for C file was, but 15 minutes later he was connected to Tailscale and syncing with C file, with the C file client. And I think that's amazing.
That, it really is.
So what I'm saying here is if you share a machine, like if you shared your print server, your Octoprint server with your friend in
a Minecraft
Tibet,
server.
your Minecraft, that's I understand that's the biggest thing that they do.
Is it really?
Keep hearing about is Minecraft servers.
Well, and are we past that day and age where people hosted their own game servers frequently?
No, because Minecraft, I think you have to.
Yeah, well,
and it used to involve punching holes in firewalls so all the kids in the neighborhood can get to your.
I used Tailscale on my Trade Wars 2002 game server.
Why do you do that, Tubby?
Well, I did it because it's on an Azure virtual machine. I didn't use it so people could play it. I've just got the port open so that the internet can hit that port. But because I'm lazy and cavalier, I had just left the remote desktop port open so that I could remotely access and work on that virtual machine. And that's a huge, I'm sure one of our IT security friends just blew his lid and is infuriated that I would do such a thing. That's a terrible idea.
I'm surprised that by now that's not as safe to leave open as an SSH port.
Yeah, that's a
reasonable lockdowns on the SSH server at least.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't understand why.
If I turn off password authentication and only do private key authentication, I'm plenty brave enough to leave SSH open to the world. I don't fear it at all.
But yeah, I closed that down. I followed a security best practice and closed down the remote desktop access to that through Tailscale on that machine, added it, and now I just hit that. I hit that directly over Tailscale, still using remote desktop. I didn't have to change anything here locally except maybe the address.
Tailscale saved a tiny problem for me that I don't have often because I don't travel. But my laptop's a jumbo laptop. It has an SSD and a spinning drive, but it's a tiny spin. I think it's only 1 terabyte. It's what I had laying around. It didn't come with one, and I just found the biggest one I had in a drawer, and I put it in there, and that's
a
just
3.5 inch or a 2.5.
2.5. A 2.5. I don't have a lot of 2.5s around, so I don't sync with C-File everything to my laptop because there's just not enough room, especially for all the FPV videos and stuff. So I have to map a drive to my NAS VM. And, in theory, that means if I take my laptop to the park, I don't have access to any, or a hotel, I don't have access to any of my video files. But now I do. That was a lazy fix for a problem that I could have solved it with a bigger hard drive. I'd be happy with that too, but it's problem solved. I'm excited.
It is a problem solved.
So what do you think, Tubby? Have we gotten to the end of Tailscale?
I think so.
Oh,
we could talk.
We missed one, but it's not the most exciting thing.
Which one's the most exciting one?
The server that publishes
the Butterwhat
Jekyll blog for Butterwhat.com is a VM here next to me here, and we share that with Tails. I share it with Brian. That way, Brian doesn't have to figure out how to set up Jekyll on his Windows box, and he doesn't have to worry that setting up Jekyll on his Windows box might goof up his ancient Octopress setup for his blog.
It did.
And he just has to push to a Git repository on that VM. Now, somebody asked me once, why on earth would I have this stuff all hiding on a VM here? Why wouldn't I just, push to Git repositories on the internet? Netlify can publish Jekyll blogs for you. And I said, I'm terrified of making them. I accidentally set a preview, an unpublished thing, or the whole back catalog of the blog to another URL that Google finds and starts indexing and then gets mad at me because my content exists in 5 different places and starts ranking me down. I'd rather hide all this stuff away behind a firewall so
Google can't get to it.
Yeah, Google can't get to it, and I feel much more comfortable, a lot less. And the Jekyll machine, it does a Git pull once a minute from GitLab, and if there's a new change, it publishes the blog. Is pretty much its MO, and it's a private Git repo, so Google's not going to accidentally find it. But that's a very basic use case. But we use machine sharing, which is exciting.
Basic, but really handy. I mean, super handy for us.
It's true.
I mean, it's.
I'm going to check the chat over here.
Okay. I think we're
3DWB wants to know why we haven't done a little 60-second who the heck are these two guys. And Brian asked me if we should do the same thing. And I figured we should get some practice before we try to do something like that. And since we're going to publish these as little 5 to 10 minute, we hope. God, who knows how long they're going to be. We don't know what we're doing. We'd want to add some. I'd feel like we would need that at the beginning of every one of the videos, and they're already going to be short. We kind of don't want 15% of each video to be a little explanation. We're hoping something exciting happens in that first minute, instead of us being boring and telling you who we are. And I told Brian we should just pretend we're famous already.
We're not.
And everybody should already know who we are, obviously.
I'm the #1 DIY NES search guy on Google.
This is true. And I like lieutenant's data. I almost put the
#2
possessive on the wrong
syllable.
part of the name there. Lieutenant data's word, friend sourcing.
I like friend sourcing. Sounds like it doesn't have a secret double meaning, like buddy source.
Oh, it's nice of the Minecraft to talk UPnP to your router. Does it, Mr. Data, do the friends have an easy way to find their friend servers, or do they have to, do a whatismyip.com and give their friends the numbers? And I mean, you don't have to tell me that. It's probably not that important, but I'm kind of curious.
You know what I didn't talk about?
No.
My Nextcloud VM.
Oh, should we? What Tuesday of the month do you want to do these? First Tuesday?
Sure. Is this the first Tuesday of the month?
No, this is like the last Tuesday, so there'll be another one next week. I don't think it's literally next week, but the next one's going to be soon.
It's 2 weeks from today.
2 weeks.
I'm guessing. If I understand the way the calendar works correctly.
I like the first Tuesday because then we'll definitely be able to publish stuff right before Black Friday and right before Christmas.
Yep.
And that'd be
search.
Good. It's nice that they don't have to worry about stuff, Lieutenant Data. We've noticed that the Tailscale guys keep saying that everybody tells them, "Oh yeah, we use it for Minecraft servers," and the guys in their office had to start playing Minecraft just to see why everybody does it.
Yeah. What?
And I don't play Minecraft, so I don't really know. Anyway.
Well, and the Tailscale guys tweeted about. I mean, they basically tweeted kind of along those lines, saying, "Hey, we want to understand why you guys want to use Tailscale on your NAS," and they did interviews with people. I did a Zoom call with one of the co-founders and lead architect, and then one of the lead architects of Tailscale. I think it's interesting that they've created a product, and they've not people have consumed it in ways that they didn't anticipate. You know, people have become customers that they wouldn't have even said, you know, early on, hey, these are going to be our customers. It was a lot of fun talking to them.
It's a very open-ended product.
Yeah.
You can do anything with it. Oh, that's neat. Minecraft is cross-platform now, the modern Minecraft.
Interesting.
Android, Xbox, Windows, iOS.
When is?
Right, I think I have our outline over in the.
Yeah. What are we doing next?
I'm kind of thinking we skip because that's what we did in the first part, and we've only got 2 things.
Okay.
I don't think we'll get an episode out.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, we could probably talk a lot about it, but we might have.
But we're gonna do this in 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah,
so
I was about to say we might have more CNC stuff to talk about in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think just home automation here would be a pretty good.
I think so too. Yeah, save butt sensor for last.
Butt sensor goes last. All right, so we'll scooch the camera thing. We'll scooch that out of the way. The heck is this? We've already been playing this one. Oh, this is just you flying.
That's good stuff.
Fine. I'm gonna scooch it so I don't lose it though. That's just my channel. We don't need that. We're not doing the mesh cam today. This is home automation.
This is home automation.
That's not home automation.
That's you putting together a ground Arduino. We should have talked about that.
Googling for butter what? What am I doing there? So what have we got? I need to find a cloud-free switch because I pick one up, but they're all plugged in, Tubby.
I might have. Where are mine? They're up there.
I have a box that one came in. I saved one of the boxes, so if I blog about this, I have.
I've got more boxes.
And they're out of stock at the moment, so it's not like I can. So we've got a cloud-free thermostat. Mine's a Honeywell thermostat. You bought it, Tubby.
I remember.
And boy, I'm never gonna find it. I'm not gonna look for it.
I have a Nest thermostat. You can find those if you
Can
want.
you tie it into Home Assistant?
Yes, but it's a
pain.
I don't want to say it's a pain. There's a. Was I successful?
Maybe.
Well, I'm trying to. I've got my Home Assistant tied to my Google Home, and some of the devices show up in there, but I don't think I ever. Now I'm gonna go look. Because it sounds just like me saying, "Hey, we never leave the house anymore, so why would I care about changing the temperature?" That kind of sounds like something I would.
Well, I know a lot of things are read-only too. Mine's writable. I tried. I changed my thermostat from Home Assistant the other night.
That's awesome. I need to. Speaking of thermostats, bump yours up. It's going to be cold tonight.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's supposed to get down in the 30s.
The other night, my data had. I wonder if it's here. Well, last night I bumped it up. Can you guys see this at all? In between here, from about 1:30 a.m. until 5 in the morning, it didn't run. That happened the other night when I didn't change the temperature, and I said, "Huh, I wonder if it didn't run, or if it couldn't connect to the service to check on it." And I couldn't remember if I heard the AC running. None of you guys can see this, but I was confused earlier while Brian was talking. In the Riverside interface, there's a red dot in the top corner of where me and Brian are talking, and mine is right on the crown molding behind me.
Oh.
And I thought, like, right on it, like it's taken up. I'm like, what happened to my crown mold? I don't know if you saw me turn around to look at it earlier. I took a screenshot so I could tell Twitter about it later, so that you guys can all see how dumb I am.
Our faces are mostly obscured by my camera.
Good. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm bad at that. So you think we're in good shape here? You were clicking around, so I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Start the next.
Yeah. I'm good.
You're good. So we got the right Tasmota switches, phone. You have the Home Assistant.
Fire TV. Yeah.
The phone app it reports telemetry from the phone. Yeah, I think you have anything you want to add to this list that you've been.
We should tell the story about the switch that I want to home automate. That's a good.
It is a good one. But do you have any devices or anything I should include here? I have Octoprint on there, but we'll see it when I show the interface and wave my mouse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
not too worried.
I've got Octoprint. I've got all my routers. I've got my two Open WRT devices are in there. I don't know why. What else do I have in Home Assistant?
But
I'm
gonna add Open WRT.
Okay.
Because I have complaints about that. Mostly because I only half of my access points are Open WRT.
Z-Wave.
Do you have any Z-Wave stuff installed?
Yeah, I've got most of. I'll talk about it in the Tasmota switches stuff, but yeah, I got you those Tasmota switches right at the same time as I started buying Z-Wave stuff, and I'm almost to the point where.
Well, let's back up. Let's start talking. I think we're in good shape.
Okay.
What should I put on the screen here for this? This is a good.
I think so. Home Assistant. I mean, we're both using Home Assistant.
Yeah, and it's a good. Little bit of everything is up on the screen, so that's pretty good.
You've got Tailscale running on your Home Assistant, right?
I do. Oh, that's something. Let's put that in here. Okay. All right. I'm ready if you're ready.
I am.
We're doing another one of those intros.
Okay.
Are very off the cuff. This is the Butter What podcast. I don't know if it's really going to be a podcast, but we're pretending it is. This is my co-host here, BrianMcMoses.com. He's not really Brian McMoses. There's a good story behind that, but we're not telling that today because this is already going to be a long section. And I'm Pat Regan, and I have headphones on, and we're going to talk to Brian here about home automation and Home Assistant and the things we've been messing around with lately.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Let's do it. So, I did home automation at the old apartment with OpenHab and a bunch of nonsense, and I did some cool stuff. And then when we moved into this house, I bought a house from Brian, which is weird, but I didn't set up any of the home automation stuff right away, and I didn't start until about a month ago, probably.
Yep.
But Brian's been automating things for
a few months?
Quite a few months now?
A few months.
But Brian gave me a handful of these cloud-free switches that Jeremy Cook from the Creativity Podcast told me I should look into. And I would love to pick one up and show it to you because they're adorable. But they're all plugged in. They're all controlling the lights for this podcast, so I can't unplug them. But we have a picture here from their website. Most of the stuff at this cloudfree.shop website, they have some of the Sonoff brand switches that are flashed with Tasmota, and they have some of their own stuff like these cloud-free smart plugs that are flashed with Tasmota. And Tasmota is an open source firmware that runs on ESP8266 and I think ESP32 hardware. And instead of your smart switch talking to the cloud and having to access the internet, Tasmota just talks directly to your home automation controller via MQTT. So you don't need the internet to work for your automation to work. And you don't have to worry about a company going out of business and a service disappearing. Like happened recently with somebody's audio players that I can't remember.
Well, and it happened to me, right? I was using the Sonoff stuff, and
Oh.
all of my home automation was being executed by if this then that, and
Oh.
at the same time, the Sonoff, the Sonoff is the name of the hardware, whatever their software as a service product was, said if you want to use if this then that, you have to subscribe to our premium service. And then if this then that a few weeks later turned around and said if you want to keep using all of your free automations, you need to start subscribing. And I had choice words for that, and I said, well, just forget it. I'm gonna run my own home automation here at the house, and
Good.
I tried out Home Assistant, and that's what got me that's what got me vigorously automating things on my own here, and I got way into it. In fact, my Christmas list, my wish list on Amazon, turned into a smorgasbord of different sensors and smart electric switches and outlets.
Decide to start automating things. What was the itch that you really needed to scratch?
Well, the thing that I like to joke about is we've got dogs and we've got a porch light in our backyard, but the light switch is on an
You need to take a
entirely.
picture of this for me to include
I
in
do.
the.
I do. The the switch is an entire wall away. So you go down, you've got the door and then you've got some windows and then you've
And
got
they
the
take up
corner.
all the wall space. There's nowhere for a
Yeah,
switch beyond that wall.
there's nowhere for an electric switch to be. So the switch is on that next wall 16 inches in, and we've got a huge sectional sofa in front of that switch. So if you want to turn that light switch on, you have to actually like kneel on the couch and lean over the back of it and flip the actual
It's
switch.
totally such a first world problem.
It's the quintessence of a first world problem.
Now, I
So
remember I told you how I would fix this. I would just make sure I had LED lights outside and just leave them on.
just
I
leave
would
them
just
on
never
all the
turn it
time.
off.
Well, and
Forget that. Just leave them on.
I wanted to. I had a couple different ideas, but what I wound up settling on is I got a I got a Z-Wave hinge sensor that,
Ooh.
it's battery powered, but it goes right in. You pull the pin out of the hinge and then you put this sensor in there and it detects motion. And I think I don't know if you program it, say, hey, this is closed, this is open, or if it just detects movement. But it knows when that door is
Moves.
open, when it moves. And I figured anytime that door moves, I want that light. Anytime that door moves and it's after dark, I want that light to go on for 20 minutes or however long it takes us to let the dogs out and get them back in. Um, that's what I joked about home automating. But I've for a long time I've home automated my office lights. With if this then that before they got greedy. I
Yep, that
was
was one of my favorite. That was basically all the automation I had in our old apartment was just the mostly the lights in my office. If
yep.
the I had back then I had to write a this was 7 years ago when I started this. I had to write custom Android debugger script stuff to look at the Fire TV to see if video was playing and it would report that back to OpenHub and then if video started playing it would turn the lights off. If I have a script watching my Steam log files. So if a game opens, my lights turn off and some of the monitors dim. And when a game shuts down, it reverses that process, that sort of stuff. But boy, Home Assistant, you know, I'm sure OpenHub has similar things. But Home Assistant had an Android TV plugin that just works with the Fire TV. And all I knew was, is video playing or is video not playing? But boy, if we look at this here, I've got my little. I'm not automating anything yet. I'm just collecting data. But you can see here my Fire TVs. We've got the living room and my office. Red is off. It's got idle, playing, and I think there's another. I don't know what the other. These are so small.
Is
Paused. It knows paused.
Is there a switch animation so that you can know when Animal Crossing's being played?
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I
wonder how I figure that out. We could pick on Chris when Animal Crossing is going.
It's not in view, but I've automated. I've got a cherry light like on top of the police squad car.
Yeah, the cherry on top.
Above my 3D printer. Every time the 3D printer finishes a print job, that light goes off for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And I use that same action. It also goes off when Yulia gets back home. She's got the app on her phone. So when her home sensor, when her sensor triggers to home, that light turns on also. And
That's fantastic.
I've used that. She got a new phone, and her new phone's GPS kind of sucks, I think, because when she's running errands, it goes off sporadically.
Make sure Home Assistant's location data. Android has like 3 levels of allowed.
Oh, okay. Make sure it's
location data.
granular
Make sure it's in a more aggressive one. Probably.
Yeah, maybe I need to do that.
And
but
we both have our 3D printers in Home Assistant. That's my temperature sensor here in my office. The thermostat's outside, and you can see over here, Tubby, this bouncing between 72 and 76 degrees all day. You can tell here when I close the door to my office to podcast here. That I'm not getting as much ventilation. We're up at over 78 here in my office. 79. That's the
warm.
Print bed temperature.
That's the bed temperature.
So it's not accurate. This is not really my office temperature, but it's a good enough indicator.
It's close enough.
For me. Yeah, to see what's going on.
I wonder what.
But you got me a handful of those cloud-free sensors that Jeremy discovered, and these are adorable. They're only $9. They're a little round. I think you could fit 2 on an outlet. I should have tested that to make sure. I think you could fit, 2, 1 on each outlet in a standard outlet. And they work great. They've got a little button on them, and when you hit the button, it sends the MQTT signal to Home Assistant to have Home Assistant flip the light on and off. Not that anybody should ever be reaching for that. I always say I love home automation, but I'm really bummed out when people call a remote control automation.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to click things. I want things to just work.
You've been way more sophisticated on that than me.
I'm not the least bit sophisticated right now. All I'm doing is collecting as much data as I can. I've added another sensor every few days. I mean, I have these controls for these lights, but it's all manual. I could just, I could empty my. Ooh.
Whoa! Look at that.
But I've only got 3 modes. This is what the lights usually look like in here when I'm in here, and then I have the podcasting set up where everything is just. There's lights all down this wall here for various things that just come on.
I do my work from a desk that's right behind me, and there's a lamp in the opposite corner right behind me. I want to get hooked. I don't know how badly I want to work to get it, but I want to get it hooked into my work calendar so that when I have a meeting, especially a meeting that's got a Zoom URL attached to it, I want to turn that light off because it looks terrible to have that light. I mean, it kind of looks like I'm backlit. I've got this glow around my head. If you could lower
it and hide it, it'd be a hair light, and you'd look pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, I look pretty awesome anyways, don't I?
Oh, shucks. Oh, wait, you mean you. But I was surprised. I was able to hook right into the thermostat. This old Honeywell Wi-Fi thermostat,
I've
like a
been,
first generation Wi-Fi. But it's cheating. It doesn't actually talk to. It talks to their cloud.
yeah,
But it's getting the job done. It can control the thermostat and it can read, but it only reads once a minute. And they told me don't bump that up. You can make it go higher, but you'll exceed your API limit and they'll shut you down for a while.
interesting.
And that would be a bummer.
Well, what you need to do is use Tailscale's exit nodes and bounce it around.
Bounce them around everywhere. Yeah, they won't know. Well, I think they do it by my account,
Oh,
by
okay.
my login, I bet.
That's no fun.
But all of the ons and offs in the graph, they all end at the same interval. So sometimes they'll say the AC ran for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. It's probably just almost the same amount of time every time, but it's just when I happen to query,
Yeah,
I'm just a little off. And you said you connected it to your OpenWRT routers
I do.
too. I know what that's for. That's for presence detection. You can get all the MAC addresses and host names.
Okay.
But I can't use it. I've connected mine too, just to see what sensors would show up in entities and sensor assistant. But my main access point that's in the center of the house cannot run OpenWRT. It's just a cheap
That's
router.
a bummer.
Yeah, everybody's connected to that, and it's all. This bums me out. It's all access point related. It's not. They all DHCP to the OpenWRT router, so there's leases for everything, and
Okay.
but it doesn't use any of that data to tell you what's in the house. It's all Wi-Fi. But boy, I found a project. I don't have any information about this. I didn't know I was going to talk about it. There's a project where you can get a whole bunch of Raspberry Pi Zeros and sprinkle them around your house to triangulate Wi-Fi and Bluetooth devices.
Oh, wow.
In your home. And it would be cool, except that I put my phone down. I don't know if you can see here in the video, but it has Pat's Phone Sleep Confidence is the name of this title here. That's how confident the Android Fitness app is that I'm asleep there's a 16% chance that I'm asleep. But she thinks I'm always asleep because I take my phone, I walk around, I put it down on my desk, and I leave.
Yeah.
And my phone is just here. And this is a lot like sleeping when it's not. It's very sedentary. But it's cool because the Home Assistant app pushes up all sorts of telemetry, location data. You can see my address down here. I don't need to block that out because it's easy to find where I live. But there's.
I know where you live.
He does know where I live. It's true. I should be afraid of that. But it pushes up when your next alarm is. When you're, I already said location, the Wi-Fi you're connected to. I have in here battery levels for both of our phones. But you could get, I know there's a button up the top that says click this button to enable all 50 something sensors. So there's a lot of Android information that can get pushed up. I don't know what happens on iOS. I assume it's similar.
It's similar. There's a ton. It's so much that I looked at it and I was like, I don't even know. I mean,
I scrolled through for the things I was interested in.
Yeah, and I didn't even do that. I probably just turned them all on and said, I want it all, and I'll go back through it and figure out something to do with it later.
Yep.
My primary Home Assistant screen is just full of sensors for all the things.
Especially with the OpenWRT plugin.
Yes.
Every device that's connected to Wi-Fi.
Yep.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I want to improve the presence detection and tie it to, a combination of GPS and whether you're actually on the access point or not with your mobile device.
Did you see the thing that I stole from our friend Mike the last time we were out flying?
I did. I'm excited about this.
This is awesome. This is a airbag sensor that goes in the seat of a car. It goes between the cushion and the top fabric. So usually in the passenger seat, I guess. So when you sit in the passenger seat, it decides whether the airbag is going to go off or not. And each of these are just membrane switches. So I had this problem, and it's not really a problem anymore, but I use an e-ink book reader that doesn't have Wi-Fi. So there's no way to know I'm using it. And I've had trouble where I'd sit in this chair over here, and the lights would go off in my office because all the indicators that OpenHab used to have that I was present said I was not in the room. And the way I fixed that was, and this is what I did with a lot of my, automated stuff. There's an override command of some sort. I was hoping to have it on a clapper, like in the '80s. But basically, the override was, no, Judy, the last thing you did was wrong. Undo it, at least for a little while. And basically, if I made the noise, the light would come back on for another hour. But this would tell you if I'm in that chair. And I have it hooked up to this little, what are these called, Brian? This is a Node MCU dev board.
Okay.
It's a ESP8266. I loaded Tasmoda on here, and in the web interface, when I hit this, I can see the switch flip. But I'm doing something stupid. I haven't gotten it connected to Home Assistant yet.
But that's just gonna be a light bulb going off. It's gonna figure it out. You've got the
Yeah,
you've got the
I've got the hardware.
Working. If you went and sat in that chair, that switch flips.
Yep.
So it would know.
We just have to get it into Home Assistant. And
Yeah.
I'm doing, because it's a totally custom switch. Like these other Tasmoda things have a template preloaded on them. And I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I would have gotten this working by now, but I started adding Fire TVs and thermostats and phones and things to Home Assistant, and
it's really easy. Like Home Assistant, I'm impressed with Home Assistant. The ease of use and the ability to add things to plumb things into it. Like
Yep.
I hate it because it's a printer, but I've got this Brother scanner fax copy. It's on the network. It's Wi-Fi. It found it. I mean, I can write home automation if the toner's low.
Printing.
Yeah, or
Yep.
when something's printing. I don't know why I wouldn't, but it just discovered it and said, "Hey, do you want to turn on this integration?" And I was like, "Well, yes. Yeah, sure." I mean, I don't know what I'll do with it, but
I'm bummed out about how poor the automation part of Home Assistant is. I know everybody uses the Node Red plugin.
yep, that's what
And
I do.
it looks easy to use, but boy, if I have to automate 6 of the same thing, and if I've got to click through that GUI to do it, I'm going to be mad. But I liked the way OpenHab worked. There was a programming language, a real programming language that you could write code, and you could tie code to a switch flipping, and you could kind of do that with Home Assistant. But the code is lines of variables in YAML markup, and it looks awful. But OpenHab is going the same direction. They don't want you using the old programming interface. And
They want
like
you to
I was
use
using OpenHab 1 point something, and I was thinking about upgrading to 2.0 when it came out, and then now it'd be 3.0, and they've deprecated all the stuff I used to use.
Oh wow!
Well,
I didn't know
now it's
that.
time to use Home Assistant and
Yeah,
deal with that.
I have got. Santa brought me all of the home
Santa Claus?
automations. Santa Claus back in December. He brought me all of that stuff. I should be able to recognize my home automation dream of turning the lights on and off when I open that door.
That's fantastic.
But I want to do the same thing in here. You know, like I've got my closet where I keep everything. It's got its own light switch. I just want the light to turn on when that door opens, and I want it to turn off when it goes off.
Yep. And that's something you could do lazy now, though. They sell cheap things that just do that. But you're right. I want to do it the right way. Anyway.
I kind of want to automate the ceiling fan. I don't know how.
I'm going to hold these up because they're right next to me here because I'm not using them right now. These are, oh my God, they don't pull apart. These are huge compared, those cloud-free switches are a little smaller than this section, but this is an old RF 433 megahertz switch.
Yep.
They come with a little remote. I have that here because I was cheating and using this the other day. Just on and off. I have an ESP8266 with a blaster for these to turn. This was my first home automation 6 years ago. Back when a Wi-Fi switch like this was like $40.
Yep.
And a 3-pack of these was $15. I figured, well, maybe we'll use a whole mess of these, and it worked fine. But there's a Tasmota. No, that's a lie. ESP Home is a thing that's built into Home Assistant. And ESP Home has a plug-in to use these. So I might light these back up just for the sake of doing it.
Those same things?
Yep, those same things.
How?
And I found some of these on Amazon that are outdoor rated. I thought that might be handy.
Yeah.
And they were pretty cheap, like a 3-pack for $20 for, rain safe.
Yep.
Outdoor devices. But I don't know what I'd use. Christmas lights, maybe?
Christmas lights? I don't know, like a sump pump for something. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe.
But 6 years ago, I had to write my own Arduino sketch from scratch to make these work. I had to figure out how to make the RC switch library talk to these, and I had to. Now it's just built into ESP Home. You flash it, you tell it what pin your RF blaster's on, and it just kind of works.
I'm kind of interested in that because I've got my motorized blinds here.
I wonder. Now this is a question. Are they RF 433?
I think they are. I looked
because
it up.
I expected our ceiling fans that have a similar remote like this to be RF 433, but they're an even older protocol. It's some kind of AM radio protocol, and I did not find how to automate that.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yours probably those blinds are a new recent. They've been making remote controlled ceiling fans
forever,
for decades, right?
Yep.
So it's an older thing, and they probably just keep doing them the same.
Yeah, I read.
I'll be bummed out if I have to tear down 2 ceiling fans to put in new Wi-Fi or Z-Wave dinguses up in the
use a Z-Wave switch, power switch.
Well, you need more. There's one power lead that goes from the wall, from where the flipper used to be. But you get to control a light and 3 fan speeds.
Oh, okay.
You can't just do that with on and on. Yeah, you need more. Yeah. But we'll get there.
Yep.
Lieutenant Data, he didn't actually say this, but you can make it scream about PC load letter when you're out of paper. He almost said that. Chris wants to know if my big school would trip the chair sensor.
Probably not. I don't think so.
It's pretty easy to. I have a feeling that in the car, there's a kind of an H-shaped small indent in the cushion that this fits specifically in, and these are only $7.
Yeah, they're cheap.
It's really cheap, and this is a $3 microcontroller, $4 for me, and that's Amazon prices. That's not anything special. The bummer is I have to plug this in. But the exciting thing is that means I'm going to have a USB power lead at my recliner over here, and I want to be able to charge a phone there anyway, right?
Yep.
So I need to put a splitter and have an extra port. I don't know where the port goes, but
aren't those sensors for kids? I mean, isn't that part of
they are? That's why I assume you have to compress the foam in the seat.
Yeah.
Before this goes off, because you don't have to touch these very hard to get it to flip.
Yeah.
So I think there's something I don't understand about how they work. I might be guessing wrong.
Yeah.
But for this, it'll do the job for sure.
I'm guessing that Rascal's a little lighter, and that
I don't know. He's a 20-pounder. He'd have to lay right where the switch is, though.
Yeah, he'd have to He'd have
And I
to be
don't think
real
I do.
dense. Yeah. You're dispersed.
Yep.
Well, I'm thinking if a kid
I
sits...
displace a lot of water when I'm submerged, you know. That's volume of water.
Do you float? Because
I sure hope so. Don't most people
well,
float?
but a lot of you doesn't displace water if you're floating.
Well, yeah, I don't know. This is a good question. I remember watching they did this on an episode of Brainiac when they did their segments on fat versus thin. They had a
Uh-huh.
really big guy and a really, really, really skinny guy. And they did one to see who floats better.
Was the really skinny guy?
No, he floated very poorly. He was
Yep.
barely above water. But that was hosted by Richard Hammond. Do you know Richard Hammond?
I do know
Hamster
Richard
from
Hammond. Top
Top
Gear.
Gear
And the Grand Tour.
and the Grand Tour. Do you think we
Well,
finished up that segment?
I think we did.
I think we did too.
What kind of home automation stuff do you want to do that you haven't done before?
I don't even know.
Yeah,
Oh, I know what I've always turned the lights out in my office when video plays on the Fire TV in here. I want to do that on dimmers in the living room.
okay.
That's easy. That's a $15 dimmer switch for the. And I have some interesting information about that, but I think we can hold off until the next podcast for that because I'm not real certain about it.
Okay. You don't want to speculate on our very first set of podcast recordings.
This is true. Well, we're going to do it in 2 weeks. Should
2
we?
weeks.
Should we announce? Now, see, I disagree with you and 3D Weeb that we should do an introduction, but I'm wondering if we should do an outro to put on the 4 of these potential videos. Like we do the live stream every first Tuesday or something. I don't even think we have to do it for this set of videos. I'm not too worried about it.
That's not a bad idea to routinely.
Yeah,
say,
just routinely at the end of every episode, say we do this every first Tuesday of the month. And
make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe.
Click the notification bell.
All those things would go in this outro.
Smash that stuff.
And you know I'm going to use this as our outro.
Oh, I hope that you do.
Videos, this nonsense that we're speaking right
Patreon.
now.
We each have
Patreon. We do each have Patreon, and the URLs for those will be in the description. And if we were good at this, I would explain to you why it's a good idea to support us on Patreon. But I did not prepare for that, guys. So I have to apologize for that.
You too might want a butt sensor for your home automation, and your contributions on Patreon are a huge reason why we're able to make butt sensors.
It's true. I could not have made a butt sensor without the support of my patrons. And I'm not even. Well, I don't know if I'm joking because I would probably do it anyway because a butt sensor. And I agree with Lieutenant Data that we should have an intro video on the channel. But I think we need some content to put in it. I'd like some outtakes from a few of these recorded first, and then throw that together. Because YouTube has a channel intro video that it only shows you the first time you show up on a channel. It doesn't show it to you again.
Interesting.
Well, it might. I think you can configure it either way, but usually they're about a minute. And I want to do one of those, Lieutenant Data, for the Creativity podcast too. But I think I want to get a couple more interviews done with Jeremy before we find the funny bits and the interesting, exciting bits. It has to be a good balance, right? It has to be something interesting, something exciting, something funny. I think, yeah. We'll figure it out.
I think so.
I think we did a pretty good... I expected this to take 90 minutes, and we did a little over 2 hours.
We did. We talk a lot. We do. Nobody...
Well, and we gathered our... I expect that every time we do this, we'll do a little better at gathering our information in between.
Yep.
And now I have some idea of what needs to be open in this web browser before we get going. I did a bad job. We had to collect web pages in between. Yeah, I think it would be too, Mr. Data.
I was thinking that
We're bad at talking about ourselves. I don't know if you guys are all aware of that. I'm good at talking about everything, but not about myself.
I had an idea. We'll probably talk about this more, but there's a few funny topics that we could talk about. The Brian McMoses story is funny.
It is
That's
funny.
that's a funny story.
I wish I had video. I may have video of that, but
That poor kid.
there's too many hours to go through to find.
It's too much.
I'll never find it if I have it.
You talk to Judy all the time. Judy's a
I talk
funny
to
story.
Judy constantly.
I think
Paul was talking to Judy the other day.
Was he good?
He was telling her the shutter speeds and stuff that he set, and told her she was Judy. That was fantastic.
Hey Judy, this is 1/60. What else would be funny? We were too busy talking about other stuff. I was having good ideas, and I was like, "Oh wait, I have to." Pay
Almost
attention.
6 of you folks have watched almost the whole thing. For a first try at this? How do you guys think we did? Do you think we'll really get some 10-minute episodes out of this for YouTube? I hope we do. I hope we did an okay job.
I hope so. I guess that's hard to tell since it's Riverside streams at lower quality. Did everybody look okay? Yeah, Pat.
Well, no, we look. Well, Mr. Data said that I have my audio cut out a few times.
Yep.
And you've looked just fine the whole time with your gigabit internet over there, to me.
Okay.
But we had, when we were talking to Tommy on the Creativity podcast, he looked terrible half the time. And Jeremy looks bad. Low bit rate a lot of the time.
Yep.
But you can see we've each got, you guys can't see this. Can I share this window?
Oh God, this is going to be terrifying.
Don't be scared, guys. Don't be scared. Window. Ah, it's infinite.
Infinite us.
This is what we get to see. Well, this is what I get to see. I don't know if this is similar to what Brian sees, but it shows me all of these are being recorded at a high bit rate with a good codec locally and being continuously uploaded in the background. But the chat that we're doing is low bit rate, low latency. And it's been doing a pretty good job. Every time we've done this, it's only a few megabytes behind for most people, most of the time.
I'm laughing because the stream just caught up.
Yeah, what does that look like? Yeah, I'm bummed out that Riverside does not let us control the live stream output. The layout of these.
Yeah.
But it's all right. I want the finished product to look its best. I'm okay if this part is somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I wonder what. I should look beautiful in the raw video. I'll post a clip. I'll post
clip
of the
sound
real.
what? I don't know. Sound beautiful, but you sound accurate. You
Yeah,
won't be robotic.
I should look accurate too. Lieutenant Data's talking about some. My glasses are not scaling well. The rims of my glasses, very pixelated. I'm guessing. Where are you going? Where's he going?
Trying to look at the
I
live
have to do
stream.
that too to read the chat over here. Chris wants to tell the story about me passing out laughing. Maybe we'll have to hire her to be on the podcast one
Which
week.
time?
Well, the funniest time is the best time. But we should do a whole segment of funny stories, or each.
Yeah, well,
if it's a long enough funny story. Each funny story will be.
I was thinking. I mean,
I don't like the word segment, but
that's what it is.
It's right. What I have.
Subheading.
Yeah.
That time when. The one where Pat passes out from laughing.
We could try to make it happen live on the air. I can complain about my green background. Everything is green. I feel green. I feel like Kermit the Frog when I.
What's wrong
look
with
at my
Kermit the
video.
Frog?
Well, not that I'm not a frog.
It's not easy being green.
It is not easy being green. Well, what do you guys think? Should we wrap it up, Brian, for the night?
I think we've done a good job.
I hope we've done a good job. I can't wait to find out. I'm going to download this tonight and load it all into DaVinci Resolve tomorrow and see what I can see if I can make a multi-track out of it.
That sounds like
Multicam.
fun. Multicam.
Multicam.
Multipass.
Well, I'm excited that you guys stopped by to watch and to chat with us and to tell
Yeah,
us
thanks
things.
everybody.
It's fantastic. And hopefully we'll be more streamlined next time even.
Better. More better.
I'm gonna hit stop on the recording. I think that'll disconnect us from YouTube. So you guys have a good evening.
Do the awkward wave at the end of Zoom calls?
Bye. Do they do awkward waves on Zoom calls?
I think that's a thing. I don't understand it. I don't do it. I'm watching you hit buttons.
I'm gonna disconnect the stream there. Oh, that's so much better. Yeah, there's no aliasing on my glasses. I'm at 1080p here in real life. Look at that. Our videos are done uploading already.
I don't see that. You sent me an invite?
I believe I put your email address into their, it says who to invite, and I think for all I know, I typoed it or something.
Yeah, well, for all I know, it went to the garbage. That's a Riverside.
Yeah.
What the hell's that?
Yeah, who's that guy?
I might have to go back and look for it.
And I forgot to tell you, I probably didn't have to tell you, this only works with Chrome. It doesn't work with other browsers. At least
Oh.
well.
Well,
I
that's
have to
not
remember to tell people.
that's not a problem for me for now. Well, I'd have Chrome installed even if I didn't use it. Probably.
So do I have to hit the end stream button over here? And